why Kyrie Irving demanded a trade and ultimately was dealt over the summer to Boston. But in an extensive story posted today by the great Jackie McMullen on ESPN.com, Kyrie said, quote, "They didn't want me there." When asked about Kyrie not feeling wanted by the Cavs, LeBron James told Jackie Kyrie's statement was, quote, "Absolutely no, it makes absolutely no sense." Now also, this is real interesting. In the story here, guys, Kyrie admitted to being made aware of his name being included in trade talks over the summer that Kyrie believed was orchestrated by LeBron's camp. Smitty, what's your reaction to Kyrie going on the record with stuff he's remained silent about over the last several months?
Well, you know, it's his opinion. I mean, obviously he might have some intel that he can find out. The one thing I can tell you, a lot of players get talked about being traded, especially in the Cavs situation where you're not knowing whether LeBron James is staying around or not. And I think for me is if I had to look at it and say, what did Kyrie do? He looked at it and said it's a great situation for the future for him, not knowing LeBron James was going to be a Cav next year, because LeBron still hasn't made that clear. You only make it clear if you sign the extension. And it's his right not to, and it's also his right, Kyrie, to take his talents elsewhere. LeBron did the same thing. But the one thing for me, GA and Sekou, when they first played that first game, afterwards, I didn't see any bad blood. And obviously, we're still getting these sound bites to try to drum up some more drama. You can tell when you go up against each other, whether I like Greg Anthony or not. You'll see the way how hard I foul him, and also if I embrace him after the game. They embrace, so I think they're okay.
I would take it a step further, too. There's two things that work here. The reality is this. If I'm running the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm sure as hell exploring trading Kyrie Irving after last season, after the finals. Not because Kyrie Irving isn't a tremendous talent. In fact, it's because he's a tremendous talent. And because we're not good enough to beat Golden State as presently constructed. And I don't have a lot of options to get better. Okay, Kevin Love, a possibility to trade, but I don't know that I'm going to bring back enough that's going to allow me to still get better, because that's why the trade's made. I'm not making a trade just because somebody's feelings got hurt. Okay, I'm making a trade because I'm really trying to make my team better. I'm trying to win a championship. I'm trying to at least create an environment where the potential exists that I can bring LeBron back. Not a knock on Kyrie. Kyrie is a generational talent, but they weren't going to be able to beat the Golden State Warriors as they were presently constructed. They had an aging roster, that supporting cast. They had to revamp, and the only way to do it was to move the most valuable piece that I could move. And if you look at it, it was a boon of a trade for both sides, because both teams are better today and for the future, because the Cavs also got a first-round pick out of it.
But if you're Kyrie Irving, Sekou, you've hit the biggest shot, not just in the franchise history, but in the city's history in professional sports, and one of the great shots of all time in NBA history. And you want to be maybe not on equal footing with one of the great players of all time in LeBron, but you want to be close to it, don't you?
Well, I think what Kyrie was looking for was a certain level of respect within the organization. He can't control the outside perception of what's going on around there, but within the organization, when you're walking in those hallways and you're dealing with people that wear the Cavaliers logo on their shirts every day, Kyrie wanted to be treated accordingly, like the guy you mentioned, Jared, who hit the biggest shot in franchise history, who helped bring that championship along with LeBron James to Northeast Ohio. And I think, and this is me speculating like everybody else, because we haven't heard these two guys speak to this on the record out loud for everybody to hear. If he felt like at his age, at this stage of his career, after winning a championship, he deserved to be treated with more respect than to be shopped, that's his right to ask for a trade. The funny part to me is that lost in all of this is Boston was not on his list of teams that he wanted to be traded to. This is a deal that came up out of nowhere, basically. Nobody was talking about the Celtics. Minnesota was mentioned, New York, there were other teams. Phoenix, not Boston. So for that to happen, to me, says that there's a whole lot of other things that went on after the fact that made this happen. And yes, GA's right. It ended up being a great deal for both teams.
Guys, as you know, David Griffin ran the Cavs basketball operations department up until June 19th. Today, during his weekly appearance on SiriusXM NBA Radio, the former Cavs GM told the guys on NBA Today that while Kyrie told Jackie McMullen that he didn't feel wanted in Cleveland, Griffin never received marching orders to ship Kyrie out of Cleveland.
LeBron nor his people ever asked me to do anything relative to the roster at any point, including Kyrie. They never came to me and said, we want XYZ about any player, least of all Kyrie. So that's one. Second, the organization absolutely wanted Kyrie there. But the organization has one mission, and it's to win championships. That's the only thing that Dan Gilbert views as success, and that's the only thing the basketball world views as success of that franchise. And if Kyrie did not want to be part of that, it was my job to tee everything up to make deals once we knew that to be the case. So up until the Monday before the draft, we absolutely had things positioned that once I had the conversation with Kyrie and Jeff Wexler, which would have been following Monday, we would have known whether or not we needed to act on something.
Sekou, what do you think?
I mean, I think from his position, that all sounds right. You know, and all you can do is operate from the position you're in during this time. The thing I would quibble about is Kyrie Irving asked for a trade. Regardless of what went on before he asked for it or afterwards, once he did that, there was no turning back. I know a lot of people talking during the summer about, well, they can work this out, they can do this, that, and the other. I said it repeatedly, and I stand by it. The minute he decided he was going, Smitty and GA, Jared, there was no coming back, because you don't divorce yourself from that winning situation and then walk it back in training camp and try and, make everybody feel better. I know that's been done in the past. I know people talk about Kobe Bryant when he demanded a trade and then stayed with the Lakers. That was a different era. That was pre the social media era, when all of this stuff shoots out into the universe instantly. The rumors, the speculation. And the damage that was done to the relationship between Kyrie Irving and LeBron James was irreparable at that point. I don't know how they would have come back in camp, in a sit-down, anything to repair that. Once Kyrie made up his mind, and I'm behind him 100% if he wants to take his talents elsewhere and pursue his basketball dreams in another place. That's his right. That's his prerogative to ask for the trade. The Cavaliers were the ones who acquiesced. They're the ones who made the deal happen.
I'm with Sekou. I mean, as a player, you can ask for a trade. They don't have to, but when you have a player like Kyrie ask for a trade, obviously you oblige. And to GA point, it worked out well for both squads. We have a conversation right now where I don't know if Boston has enough to beat the Cavs, but there's some scenarios where you're saying they can be competitive, things go right with them. You wouldn't be surprised if they got a chance to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers and go to the finals, because they have a team right now that can compete. Before this trade, I could have came here and said, Cavs going back to the finals, yeah, Washington, Toronto. But right now, the Boston Celtics have a legitimate chance to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Cleveland Cavaliers have a legitimate chance. Their ultimate goal is to win a championship.
But is that contingent on Isaiah showing us a lot more of what we saw last night?
Well, Isaiah's talent, we know, right? Isaiah, the only thing is his health. I mean, and that's for every team right now that, in my opinion, the teams right now that we're saying legitimately has a chance to win a championship, Cleveland and Golden State. If they're healthy, they have a chance to win a championship. But if you have a guy like this, who I thought he played extremely well, GA, last night, but he's still not all the way back.
Half step slow.
He's still a half step slow, and I think he will get there, but we're not doctors, and we don't know his body.
And let me say this. I think Cleveland was going to win the East with or with Isaiah Thomas, in my opinion. It's not that Boston's the better team. What you got to also factor in, Boston's going to be reliant upon a lot of young players. We're looking at this. This is the regular season. This ain't the postseason. It's a different dynamic, different game. So that trade also, we're missing over two things here. One, Kyrie, in order to find out how great a player he is, he needed to move on, because there was no guarantee that LeBron's coming back after this year, right? And with young, great players, they all want to find out. Kyrie thinks he's every bit as good as LeBron, and he should. Most of the great players feel like James Harden, he feels like he's the best player in the world. That's one of the reasons why they're great. And in order for him to get to where he thinks he can go, he needed to be out from under the shadow of LeBron James. From Cleveland's standpoint, they couldn't win it as presently constructed a season ago. They had to have a significant shakeup. That's what losing does. When Golden State lost to the Cavs, what did they do?
Well, they also have the opportunity
No, they ain't what
the greatest free agents of all time.
They went out and got a better player than anybody they have on their roster.
Right.
Okay, my point being, They went and revamped and improved their team.
Something you
That's
said,
what
GA,
Cleveland had to do.
That's why I really go back to. LeBron leaves. Kyrie in Cleveland. Kyrie didn't want to be there without, and we're not saying LeBron's leaving, but there's a real chance he could. And if I'm Kyrie, I would not want to be in Cleveland without LeBron James. He's in a better situation without LeBron James in Boston.
He didn't want his fate tied to whatever LeBron's decision was, and
There
that's
you
his
go.
right as
That's his
a
right.
great player in his own right.